What's up, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Just got a little short one today. I'm going to be testing the wastegate on this because this only runs off of wastegate boost pressure. I don't have the boost control set up on here yet with Mac valves and stuff, so I'm going to be testing my wastegate spring in there so I can tell how heavy the springs are that are in there, so I know when it's going to open and close, whether it's 7 pounds, 10 pounds, 12 pounds. I made up this little jig. I'm going to show you guys what I made up, how I made it up, and then how we're going to test it, and we'll get right into it. As you see, I got the truck sitting on my car trailer. I had to bring my car trailer. I usually keep it at work because there's more room for me to keep it there. I needed to bring the trailer home from work, so we got it and threw the truck on it just to conserve some space, loaded up on there. I think I need to do some work on this bumper cover here, as well as a fiberglass lip. You'll figure out an easy way to quick release mount and dismount that because I can't use my winch to load the truck. I was able to start it and just drive it up, but it's pretty close, so I want to be able to, if I ever need to winch it, to be able to winch it. And that's my car trailer here. This is a 8 by 18 or 7.5 by 18. I have solar panel up here for charging the battery. Got a deep cycle battery in here, and then I keep my my winch covered in this little box. I used to have it just mounted out in the open, and I had to replace this power wire because it corroded so bad, and the ground wires and stuff because they corroded so bad. But my little setup, it's a 5,000 or 6,000 pound winch that's in there. And then this quick release here that I can just take this pin out and just slide it all and get it all off there if I really wanted to. It takes a 2-inch ball. Has 3,500 pound axles in it. I think it's about ready to do for a new paint job. I picked this thing up a couple of years ago as a project. A guy used it as a for moving mud trucks around, so he had the axles flipped so it sat up higher, fenders were off of it, so I repainted it and did all that. If anybody's looking for a trailer, I might get rid of this one because I'd like to get myself a 20 or a 24 foot but still stay with open. So if anybody's interested, you can hit me up in the comment section or whatnot. So let me get this test jig that I made up. Let me get this thing together and I'll show you what we got. Alright guys, so what we're gonna do here is this end here is going to go into our air compressor line, and this is going to be like a regulator that I can regulate it. And then out this end is going to be a vacuum line that goes to the bottom side of the wastegate. And then this here is going to be a gauge. Now I tried this one and this one. These two gauges are for fuel pressure, and as you can see, that one's already goofed up. This one seems good, but any little bit of air, I guess there's a differentiate between air and liquid. I guess the pressures, the way it's figured, is differently between them, because this one barely has any air coming out of it, and you block it up and it immediately goes up to like 12 pounds. So I don't think that's right. This is an old air gauge that I had, but it kind of rattles around inside, so I don't know how accurate that is. This is a new one that I picked up. Get this in focus there. So this one goes up to 160 psi and looks like 1100 kPa. Now I was trying to find one, that only went up to, like 20 pounds, so it'd be a little more accurate so we could see in there. But that I just got from Harbor Freight. Same gauge actually sells at Lowe's. I was looking at Lowe's. So we have this here. So this is a 1/4 inch on the end of this, and that opening is 1/8 inch. So we got a 1/8 inch to 1/4 adapter. So we're going to put the gauge in the adapter on the end here. So then in the game plan, what we're going to do is, once that's all attached, go out to the truck, hook this up to the air compressor, and I'll set my regulator on my compressor only to like 20, 25 psi. And then this end will go on the lower side of the wastegate. And what we'll do is we'll use this knob to control the pressure, and we'll watch this gauge and keep feeding it air, a little more pressure, until we hear the wastegate to start to open and hiss out. And then we'll see what that pressure is on the gauge, and then that'll tell me what spring setup is in that wastegate. The reason why I don't know is because it came to me already assembled, and there's no information on what springs were in there. There's actually more springs in it than what's in it now. I took a few out, so we just need to test to see where we're at, so we can tell. We can get tuning and start seeing, you know, for boost safety and all that. Alright guys, you'll see here I have the regulator set roughly 30 pounds on my air compressor. Over here the gauge is at 0, and as you can hear I have the air, a little bit of air hissing out of there. I'm going to plug it with my thumb and see where this comes up. And see that hits about 30 psi right there. So that's what I'm looking for, to see where it opens on the wastegate. And we can compare it to that. Back to that, so we know we got a good reading. And take my thumb off and it drops down. So let's go out to the truck and see what we get. Alright guys, here we're looking through a little exhaust, old fender exit. Right there is my wastegate. And you see I attached the line. This is the line coming from up over the intake that comes down to it. But for testing purposes, I attached this line here and just have it come running out to here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to connect that to the air hose, that barbed end to there, and then we'll start filling with air to see where the wastegate releases and starts to open and starts to work. So let me attach everything and we'll get back to it. Alright guys, we got this all attached. And it comes around into there. And right here is the bottom of the wastegate, so we can possibly see how this is going to work. And we're not getting anywhere. Let me check something. Hang on. Alright, take two. We had 2 kinks in my air hose from my air compressor out, so that was no good. Let's get down over here and see where we're at and what we can come up with. See how that's actuating that? That's the wastegate. It's me moving it with, making it move with the air. So let's see. And also one other thing I've come to find out is that my wastegate, you see by all the air bubbles, is leaking around that ring there where you tighten everything up. At that corner you see the bubbles coming out, so I'll have to address that. I might end up with a new wastegate. I'm not sure yet. This one's kind of beat. But getting back under to here, if we zoom in to there, close everything off. See, it just starts moving there. Just as that starts moving, come over and look at the gauge. And that's only about 5-6 pounds right there. So that's what we're working with right now. Online, if you look up the springs, it says it should be about 7, so it's pretty close. Alright guys, so that's my little test for today. As you've seen on the gauge, it kind of pulled about 5 pounds, but you heard and saw when I sprayed my wastegate with water, soapy water, it was blowing air bubbles out of it. So we will gain a little bit with that, so I'd say we'd probably be about 7 pounds. I think I'm gonna have to get another wastegate because that one, it's kind of old, it's kind of beat. It was with the truck, or with the turbo kit that was in the car, and it just, some things has been taken apart and put together so much. It's got a seal in there that's leaking. I tried tightening it up, took it apart, cleaned it up, put a little grease around it. Same thing, still leaking. So we're just gonna have to look for, or somebody has, I believe it's a 60 millimeter gate they'd like to sell. Please let me know. Hit me up in the comments. I'll get back to you. So the next step we're gonna move on to is I'm gonna need another shifter. I've got the other boost control parts, Mac valve, stuff like that ordered. That's on its way. And get that stuff, and we'll get that together, and we'll video on that. So, all right, guys, we're gonna investigate this wastegate here. Pull it off of there. It's all just held on with a V-band on there. So we're gonna see if we can get it apart and figure out what's leaking here and whatnot. Just pull it off. It's held on 1 3/16 Allen headed bolt around that V-band clamp there, which I notice the clamp, if you look closely, ooh, we got a crack going on, so we might be getting a new one of those. So let's get this in the shop, let's get it apart and see what we got. All right, guys, so just so this thing doesn't fly apart, because the spring is in here and it's all spring loaded, take this little clamp, put a piece of flat stock 1/4 inch aluminum across the bottom, on the top. We ran the handle down so it's tight. Now, I don't have the spanner wrench that you need for this. I'll have to use a pipe wrench probably to spin this off, and you just spin this off to release this top cap. And actually, if you squeeze this in, take enough pressure off, it comes pretty loose. See what I mean? All right, guys, here we have it opened up. This is the spring that was in it. This is the only other spring that I have. You can combine the two. I thought there was a smaller one somewhere, but apparently I don't have it. Put that back there. So we were getting air leaks coming around these edges here where this screw, where the cap screws down on. So I don't see, I thought maybe the diaphragm was torn. All this does is goes up and down. Springs push it back down to force that back shut. But I don't see no tears in it anywhere, so I'm not really sure what's going on with it. I guess I'll try putting it back together and see what I come up with here. Maybe try putting a little bit of some Vaseline or something around that seal, get it to soften up and seal a little better. I mean, it is pretty pliable the way it is, so. All right, well, put it back together and we'll test it and see what we got. All right, so to go back together, my clamp's not big enough, so we are living dangerously. We put it in the press to press it down to get that cap to spin on and lock it down. I'm putting both springs back in to see. I think that should be somewhere around 14 pounds. So we'll test it when I get it together and we'll see where we're at. All right, guys, so there it's compressed down. Doesn't take a lot of pressure, but it's just hard to do it when you're one person trying to push the cap down, trying to spin that all at the same time. So just put a piece of aluminum underneath so it stays flat. Press the cap back down on. Spun the lock ring down as tight as we can get it. Put the pipe wrench on it, locked her down a little bit. So now we'll take her back out to the truck, assemble it on there, and air test it and see where we're at. One thing not to forget when you're reassembling is this seal ring to seal the valve, the piston here. That goes in between when you put your V-band on there to clamp it down. Without that, it'll just blow air all through there and you won't ever get a seal. So don't forget that. And if y'all were wondering, right there's our wasp nest. See if we can get them in there. There we go. Sun's kind of in there, but they're there. All right, guys, it just occurred to me, you're upside down for one, that I technically could test this on the bench with the same setup that I got going on here, right? So we're gonna watch for that to start moving. See if it does. See how it opens and closes. Does what it's supposed to do. We'll let it close back up here. All right, she's sealed up. It's kind of tough to watch both, but looks like we got about 5 pounds on there yet and it's not doing nothing. So it looks like, you see a little bit of light under there, about 18 pounds is where we're, about 15 to 18 pounds is where we're set up, which is where the springs thought I was saying they should be about 14, so I think we're going to leave it there at that. Now I got to try to get this compressed a little more so that I can get this back on, because with them springs pushing down and all this pushing against, I can't get it to compress enough to get the V-band around it. All right, there we are. We're back in place. We're back on. Locked down, ready to rock and roll. A little tester there. So this cap it stopped leaking now since I got it tighter and whatnot. So, yeah, I don't foresee being a problem there. As we said, we've got the wastegate is between 15 and 18 pounds. Get that down out of the way. All right, guys, just go over again how I tested my wastegate. This is just a piece of vacuum tubing. It's an on-off valve, let the air in and out. This is a 160 pound gauge. Obviously, you can get a smaller one. I couldn't find nothing. If you can find one smaller, just adapt it down. And all you're doing is putting this to your wastegate and then letting air in. And then once you start seeing that valve start to open, it gives you an idea of what's the spring setup is when they talk about just being on wastegate spring pressure or gate pressure. That's all that truck is set up for. I got to order the Mac valve. I know I've said it a couple times, still got to do it. So that's going to be that. I think maybe it was like $10 in supplies there to put that together. So that's all I got for now. Hopefully we can get to the track soon and see how we do. All right, guys, comment, like, subscribe, send to your friends, share. Try to get this thing blown up. Might not be the most exciting thing. Hopefully once we get on track this winter, this fall, it's September here in Florida, so it's starting to cool down. As you can see, I mean, I'm soaked now just from doing this, and I've only been out for 30 minutes to do that. Yeah, so I mean, that's all I got on this one, is about doing that wastegate. Like I said, hopefully we can get to the track soon. I don't know how soon, but soon. We got some stuff to go through with the trans. But that's all I got. Thanks, guys.